855-839-1210. We're certainly on time. Brooke Singman's on time too, and I'm really glad because she's breaking some great stories over at foxnews.com. Brooke, you are a tremendous asset to Fox News and Fox News Digital, and you keep turning out these real blockbuster stories. So thank you for joining us today.
Rich, thank you so much for having me. I'm blushing. We're on camera, so this is the first time. I usually say something nice about me at the top, but you can't see me, but now you can. So
Good. That was the goal. We wanted to
thanks
make
for
you
having
blush.
me. Thank you for having me. And we've had a big week, so a lot of stories and a lot of things, rolling out of this administration, and just happy to be able to tell these stories.
Jack Smith, I don't want to use the term special counsel because in my mind he was never a special counsel, but we'll say that he was a guy charged with investigations. I think I'll probably try to use that title.
I like that.
I mean, I call him a psycho obsessed lawyer, but that may not be journalism worthy, which is understandable. Right. But the one thing is very obvious here, as all this is coming out now, is that he was going after everybody. And now we find out, based on your piece, that even the then Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, as well. Where does it end, Brooke?
I don't know, and I would be hard pressed to tell you that this is the last story of this kind. I broke, I guess it was yesterday, I broke that Jack Smith, as part of his January 6th Capitol riot election 2020 investigation, had been targeting Speaker McCarthy's private personal cell phone records. Now, not just private work phone records, personal cell phone records.
Right.
And AT&T was his provider. So AT&T had been contacted by Jack Smith's office with Jack Smith explaining that he wanted to subpoena them for records. AT&T pressed the special counsel's office asking why they would want to subpoena these records. And then apparently, according to AT&T's response to Senator Chuck Grassley, who has been seeking answers to all of this, AT&T said they did not turn over any records belonging to McCarthy or any lawmakers or senators, for that matter, as part of this investigation, or any others. Now, I broke this story back first week in October that Jack Smith had been seeking the cell phone records of a number of United States senators, and I believe it was Congressman Mike Kelly in the House,
Pennsylvania.
Of Pennsylvania, seeking his records as well. Now, yesterday we broke that Speaker McCarthy's records were targeted, as well as former Congressman Louis Gohmert from Texas, who I had the opportunity to speak with. Now, Speaker McCarthy told me that he is going to seek legal action and make sure that this does not happen to anyone else. Louis Gohmert said he's going to wait and see what comes of all of this. But at the end of the day, I don't think that these are the only people that Jack Smith was seeking phone records or private personal communications from as part of this investigation, that a lot of these lawmakers and a lot of senators who've been targeted have described really as a witch hunt. And as Gohmert told me yesterday, it would have been probably important to have some kind of probable cause to go after the Speaker of the House's phone records. I mean, just 2 weeks after he became Speaker of the House. So Jack Smith, obviously, he was investigating the Capitol riot. That's January 6, 2021, the 2020 presidential election. Sure. Speaker McCarthy became Speaker McCarthy on, I believe it was January 7th, 2023. And then on January 23rd, 2023, Jack Smith goes after his personal cell phone records. It's crazy to me. But like I said, I think there is certainly more to come on this. And Senator Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, along with Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican from Wisconsin, together are doing this joint investigation into Jack Smith's probe. So I think we are going to see a lot more, and hopefully I'll be able to provide more answers as to what exactly Jack Smith was doing.
I appreciate it, Brooke Singman. We all do, and congrats on breaking these stories. And they're saying it's a witch hunt. I mean, the people who are on the other end of this, and I think it's fair to say, because we don't know what he was looking for, and whether or not, if Congress had voted that day to reject the election results, I mean, they had the ability under the law to do so under the Electoral Count Act of 1868. So they wouldn't have been breaking the law if they had done so. They didn't. So what was what crime would have been committed by these members of Congress in the first place to justify the spying on them? And I think when you're dealing with lawmakers, not that anyone's above the law, but certainly if the executive branch is going to start spying on the legislative branch, you really got to make sure you have a good explanation for that, because otherwise we're getting into a real problem here with separation of powers. We're getting into a real problem of an unchecked executive that can intimidate people, intimidate lawmakers into doing their bidding. I mean, it's a very, very dangerous place to be.
Absolutely. Actually, when I interviewed Louis Gohmert yesterday, he had said that when he was in Congress, he had frequently communicated with whistleblowers from the DOJ and the FBI, and he said he doesn't know who he spoke to in the time period that his records were being targeted. But he said it really, the actions destroy the checks and balances system altogether, because you do have the executive branch going after communications of members of Congress, and that is exactly at odds with what the founders say, what's in the Constitution. I mean, maybe it would be worth taking a look at the Fourth Amendment again.
We still, yeah, I don't know if we had one back then.
Right. Back in, what was that, 2023, 2024? No, we didn't. But he says, and I will say, just to make sure everybody understands both sides of this, Jack Smith says what he did was actually proper. And it was okay that he did this. And he had every right to do what he was doing as part of his investigation. Also, a story that I broke yesterday, as part of these documents that contained the explosive revelations that they were tracking Speaker McCarthy, also contained information that, despite the fact that nobody acknowledged this previously, Jack Smith actually met with former FBI Director Christopher Wray, and they always said that the investigation was very separate. And, maybe you could explain away a meeting between the FBI Director, who was leading this investigation previously, and this new special counsel shortly after the special counsel comes in, but that's not actually what happened. Special counsel Jack Smith was appointed as special counsel in November 2022. So that's a year or almost 2 years after the FBI would have been looking into the 2020 election and Capitol riot. The meeting with Wray and Smith did not take place until May of 2023. And then the day after, the FBI and Jack Smith's team made a significant case notification document, meaning there was a significant development in the investigation, and part of that document was the meeting with Christopher Wray. So what happened in that meeting, I'm not sure, but I think that the former FBI director really has some questions to answer as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brooke. I think he has a lot to answer for here, and there's so many layers to this investigation, but at the end of the day, what Jack Smith was looking for was anything. I mean, that's what really is very obvious here. Trying to find something, show me the person, I'll show you the crime. So, and yet he never produced anything. In all of this, they never actually produced any sort of smoking gun that would tie Donald Trump or any of these members of Congress or these senators to any sort of orchestrated plot here. But even if they did, even if they were able to show that there was coordination to send the electoral count back to the states and say to the states, hey, you got to take another look at this, they still would have been acting under the law that was on the books at the time. And that's the part that really just frustrates me to such a degree, is that people are not really getting that aspect of this. I mean, there's nothing illegal about a senator or a member of the House rejecting the Electoral College results, because if there were, Jamie Raskin should have been investigated, because he tried doing it with Donald Trump twice. And they did this after Bush was elected in 2000 and 2004 as well. They tried rejecting the election results. And there's a famous clip in 2017 of Jamie Raskin standing up and trying to reject Florida's electors, and Joe Biden banging the gavel and saying that he doesn't have a senator. He has to have a senator. And so, sit down and shut up. But based on this whole idea, they all should have been elected. Any Democrat that ever was against certifying the election results should have been investigated. So I guess the question is, have you, in all your reporting, uncovered any evidence that there's precedent for this before, that they've looked into other members of Congress who may have objected to the Electoral College results?
I would say absolutely not. And obviously this all went on in 2020. where Republicans questioned the outcome of the election, but how come nobody investigated the Democrats and Hillary Clinton in 2016 when Trump won and they all said that couldn't be possible?
Right.
And then the entire intelligence community and Justice Department weaponized against the sitting president and did a 2-year-long special counsel investigation into whether he was a Russian agent. So, I mean,
Right.
why was that not looked at? But no, I don't believe that there's any precedent for looking into any other members of Congress who have asked a question or tried to challenge or tried to have things, looked at again in terms of certifying an election. But that's kind of a theme that we see here, forgetting even the topic of the 2020 election. It's a theme when Republicans ask a question about something that the Democrats don't want to hear the answer to, it turns into some kind of investigation against them. I mean, look at President Trump back in 2019. I guess it was July 2019 on the phone with Zelensky, asking him what the deal was with Biden and the family and corruption in Ukraine. He asked a question. He was impeached. Sure enough, the question he asked, we found out the answers. The Biden family was doing pretty corrupt business deals in Ukraine. So, I mean, it's funny I hate to laugh, but it is kind of funny when you just compare it all. You ask a question, and if you think maybe you kind of know the answer, but you don't want to know the answer to it, you got to investigate these people for asking the questions.
I think you have to laugh or you're going insane, Brooke Singman. I think you have to. Political correspondent, Fox News. I think you have to, otherwise you'll because how else can you keep up with the ever changing, or I should say the discoveries? I mean, we still don't know what's going to come out here. I mean, thank God there's people like you looking into this, and I mean that sincerely. Like, thank God there's actual journalists out there who are looking into this stuff. I mean, this was weaponization of the government of the highest order, and it was targeted at one person. And it was done deliberately. And in this case, now we went after members of the legislature, the executive branch of government, the Department of Justice going after members of the legislature. And yet you don't hear any coverage of this outside of your reporting at Fox News and maybe a couple of other outlets, but that's it. And nobody seems to be concerned about this. As much as we hear day in and day out this drumbeat of democracy is threatened and the rise of fascism and everything, you have the executive branch, Department of Justice, spying on lawmakers, and you still have not given a good reason for it. And it's not like this is a situation where you had a corrupt member of Congress who was taking money and the gold bars in his kitchen like Menendez. Right. And it's not just one member of Congress, it's multiple, and it's the House and it's the Senate and it's leadership and it's the Speaker of the House himself. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that if people are actually worried about democracy, they should be freaking out and saying we can't have a Department of Justice operate this way. And if they are going to operate this way, what is the check on this? I mean, what is the check on this? Where is the judiciary to make sure that they're not abusing power, that they're not spying on these lawmakers, that they're not intimidating these lawmakers into doing the bidding of the executive branch? You get into some very, very dangerous roads here.
Absolutely, but you're right. That it's so true. The people that are constantly worried, quote unquote, worried about the fall of democracy are the people that either don't understand what's been going on for the last 8 years or choose not to understand. But yes, in people's defense who maybe feel that way, a large part of the media does not cover this. So you would never know that I like to say that there were all of these investigations into Trump and the constant drumbeat of the coverage of the investigations and all of the allegations. But when it ends, they never really quite finish the story to say, well, actually, that wasn't true. You don't have these journalists out there apologizing or retracting anything or giving their Pulitzer Prizes back after we've all understood that the Russia investigation was a hoax, or after the reporters and the media outlets, went along with the fact that the intelligence community claimed Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, when, getting the entire intelligence community on board and having 51 intelligence officials say that laptop was Russian disinformation, and that was right before the election. I mean, a lot of this, we never get the full story. And I think it's a disservice to the people, quite frankly, because we know that the Russian laptop was not a Russian laptop. It was Hunter Biden's laptop. We
Yeah.
know that Robert Mueller found no evidence of collusion. We know that Trump, yes, maybe he was impeached, but he was acquitted both times over. We know that the Biden family was involved in corrupt business dealings with $40 million of overseas funds coming in through different types of bank accounts that House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer uncovered during the last Congress. We know that former President Biden was investigated in an impeachment inquiry in the House of Representatives last Congress, and they decided that he did engage in impeachable conduct, but did not move forward with any type of formal proceedings there. But, we know that, but does everyone else know that? Does everybody else know the people that were forced to take a COVID vaccine, but then found out about all of the side effects and all of the things that they were forced to do? And then, it goes on and on and on and on. But we'll tell the whole story, or we'll try to, right? Together,
Well,
we could get it out there.
I mean, you're doing it, and just so everybody knows, and I have to put my glasses on to read this, but that's just how it goes. Jack Smith, with this whole thing, Kevin McCarthy, the former Speaker of the House, he actually responded to your tweet, and he quoted your tweet and said, "Jack Smith's investigation," with air quotes, "was never about finding the truth. It was about targeting political opponents. Today's news is a stark reminder of that. Read my full statement below." And he links to your tweet, Brooke Singman, on X at Brooke Singman. I mean, that's a big deal that you've got the attention of the former speaker, and you've got the attention of a lot of people. So just keep it up. I mean, don't let your foot off the gas here. Any person who is concerned about the weaponization of government, and if you're not talking about this now, then you're full of crap. So if you go on shows and you're talking about, oh my God, the death of democracy, but you don't get around to this story, then you're just completely full of it. And you're fine, actually, with the weaponization of government and democracy dying. As long as it's being used against your political opponents, then you're absolutely fine with it. Yeah.
Totally. Exactly. Well, I think we'll have more to come on this story, on all of the Russiagate stuff. I think that the Trump administration and leadership at the FBI and the DOJ right now, and heads of committees in the House and the Senate, they are asking their questions. The executive branch is turning over documents that we've been waiting to see for a long time. And we will just parse through all of them and bring the news as it comes and kind of put this big story together. And I always say, all of this together is bigger than Watergate, but we're the only ones that cover it. So,
Well, Brooke Singman, Fox News. Appreciate it, my friend. Follow Brooke at Brooke Singman. We'll talk soon.